welcome to Brand Equity, your one-stop shop for everything that's transpired in the world of brands. I'm Sonali Krishna. This week, we're going to be talking about insurance. Today, we're going to be in conversation with one of the largest general insurance players in the country, Reliance General Insurance. Over the next 30 minutes, we're going to be discussing consumer behavior when it comes to insurance. Of course, given the backdrop of COVID, and especially when it comes to what Reliance General Insurance has been doing to up its game when it comes to customer interface, experience, and acquisition. Well, with that, let me introduce to you my guest for today. It's Rakesh Jain, Executive Director and CEO of Reliance General Insurance. Thank you so much, Rakesh. Truly a pleasure having you on Brand Equity.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sonali, for having me here. It's indeed my pleasure to speak with all of you.
You know, it's been a tough 8 months for everybody, to say the least. But, you know, specifically, if I had to talk about the insurance sector and, you in particular, as, the CEO at the helm of a ship, how has the last 8 months been for you?
I think the last 8 months have indeed been redefining something which has never happened in our lives have happened. And most of us, would be practicing things like digital or, talking about new products or, changing an ecosystem. We would always be talking in bits and pieces. This is one event which has impacted almost everybody in a similar way. And I think the sheer magnanimity of it has impacted us more than anything else. So a contextual example is we always endeavor that some of our people would work from home, we'll be digitally inclined, but we never anticipated all of us would work from home. And my customers would not be able to step out, my channels would not step out. So I think this has been indeed one of those really mind resetting events. And we really have a lot to learn, anticipate now beyond this.
Right. But in terms of trends, in terms of within insurance, what buckets seem to fuel the comeback of sorts and what buckets have yet to recover? Could you throw some light on that?
See, insurance has got two very strong components to support. The one component obviously is the awareness. And I must agree that the awareness for certain products like health, even property, the SME, these are all at good highs, things which, people would not seek for, now they are coming and asking. Having said that, there are other pillars of insurance like motor insurance and all, which are dependent on economic activities. And, we all know the motor car sales have been quite, dismal in this period. So, the derived benefits which we get from an economic activity, that was low. So if you ask me in the 6 months, I would say that health insurance has done indeed very well. It's growing between 30-35%. Motor insurance has not done well, but is likely to catch up with all the festive season around us now. And to that extent, we can say that has not contributed to that extent. It's a bit negative. Property insurances have been in between. I think corporates have done their bit, being enlightened, consumers. I think they have stayed on the path. But obviously, the inclusion of, the masses, the SMEs and all, this will happen with distribution really going well. And crop insurance, which the government generally encourages for the farmer, that has been steady. So, overall, if you really see, the highest growth is health, logically, and the laggard is motor. And that's where the balance, that's why we could balance, we could not grow in the 6 months. I think it evened out.
Would you say that, given the backdrop of COVID, insurance per se, which, anyway, the insurance literacy has been a massive concern for India broadly, even pre-COVID, would you say, given that we are in the middle of a pandemic, insurance has made a significant leap into the lives of many Indians because they have somehow now understood the importance of insurance, or no such luck there?
So it's true that insurance literacy is a huge concern in India, and general insurance penetration is still less than 1% of GDP. If you really see, the global averages are upwards of 3. So structurally speaking, we need to be 3 times of where we are, in spite of all the support we have got out of the economic growth in this country in the last 20, 30 years. But if you really see the story across various lines of businesses, either people are uninsured or underinsured. And this doesn't change if it is motor, health, home, commercial lines. Everything seems to be like a push product. So in some sense, event like COVID create awareness and a push starts to evolve towards a pull. And this is what, people need to realize that they don't willingly choose insurance unless they understand the real need for it. And this, I think, needs to change vis-a-vis the global scenarios where people are more enlightened about insurance. Look at motor insurance. Even though third-party liability is a mandatory cover, we all know to drive on the roads, you need that by law. But still, more than half the vehicles on the road run without insurance. Even if you see health, you'll be surprised, only 3% of the people actually buy retail health products. 97% of the people are still in some kind of an evaluation phase as far as insurers are concerned. If you look at crop insurance, for example, you know, only 30% of the farmers have still got covered by the Pradhan Mantri's Fasal Bima Yojana, and still 70% is left. And that is also when you are talking about an organized machinery of government trying to push insurance.
Just to rewind a little bit earlier this month, Reliance General Insurance went in for a big revamp and a big, change in the way it's positioning itself. You launched Brobot, which essentially, I believe, would help people understand and use insurance in a more effective way. Give me a sense as to what was the trigger to going to a restructuring of the brand at this point, really, and the fact that you are now looking to navigate and become a more digital, wholesome company. How is that intersecting with consumers and their ability to transact digitally without a human interface?
So, Sonali, this is a very pertinent question about, brand. Why in the midst of this? I must admit that 3 months back we didn't anticipate we are going to do in the middle of such an event taking place like COVID. But let me be honest about one thing, that the COVID really meant two things as far as we are concerned. The first, all our physical lives got disrupted, and one realized insurance is a high touch model. It is a model which requires to give trust to people. It is like saying every claimant of mine that I'm going to be there for you. Don't worry. This at the moment of truth, if you have a claim, if your car has got an accident, if you land up in a hospital, if there is a fire, I will be there for you. But how do you demonstrate that? And all of a sudden, people realize that apart from digital touch, there is no other way you really can touch a consumer. And that was a big telling point in terms of establishing that digital is the architecture basis which we will carry out most of our things. The second very important thing for us to also realize is that in this entire pandemic situation, the emotions of the people really ran all-time high. And we can see so much of miseries around. Miseries could not just be only health, even the migrant labor, even, the economic woes, everything contributed to huge amount of emotional, I will say outburst in various ways. And insurance typically is the one which really, pacifies people, saves people. It was important for us to not lose the core values of an emotional connect which an insurance company would have it with its customer. So in some sense, we kept on debating significantly in this period in terms of what do we really want to visualize ourselves looking at the next 5 to 10 years. And we could clearly say that we don't want to lose the core human values behind which insurance really survives. And we want to operate in a digital ecosystem. And that is why we coined for ourselves, a new mascot, Brobot, with an intent to say this is basically somebody who will embody technology with heart. So we are going to be there for you, and we may be there for you digitally. That is the message which we really wanted to echo for the people. And I think that is the right thing to do in the context, we clearly see the world changing after this COVID event.
Introducing Brobot, your personal guide to insurance, backed by tech and a whole lot of heart. Reliance General Insurance. Live smart.
Yeah, I completely get that. But my rejoinder to that was, while yes, it's important to have your digital architecture in place and move in that direction. And I think insurance companies have been behind the curve in terms of digitization compared to other industries. But having said that, are your customers digitally savvy? Do they get it? Because that's another big concern, right? That are they well versed in the digital ecosystem to transact and get their queries answered? For a person like me, it would work, but I am a digitally savvy, citizen of the country, but there are not many like us.
So, Sonali, I would say that you'll be surprised by the amount of digital adoption which is logically taking place. If you ask me, before COVID, most of us would push digital as an alternate approach. And the consumer would generally make a choice looking at their various ways of past experience or inertias or the external help which would be available with them. When your agent comes to your doorstep to take your check, you end up giving a check. But if the agent says, look, I can't, then you end up really paying digitally. Now, it is not that the people were not digitally enabled. I guess the mindset was required to shift. And if you ask me, the other side, the insurance companies, we have also invested a lot of our time and effort in digitizing the workflows and the processes. And one of the simplest things what we carry as a mantra in our company in Reliance General Insurance is that we don't want to change the way people act or interact. We want to keep it as similar as what they are used to, just run it on a digital platform. And you would realize it is no longer that form-based thing, it is becoming like a conversational commerce. At the end of the day, the sharing of information happens in a defined way, the way people talk. And then people don't miss. It's like you and me today seeing each other and talking about the subject which we would have otherwise done if we were sitting in your office or mine. So I think that a lot of people have moved. The other thing is we have adopted various commonsensical platforms. Like, for example, we were the first to roll out our products on WhatsApp. We all know WhatsApp is a medium which people understand. It's important for insurance companies to be present where people are used to, or on Facebook. So this is where the insurers have taken the step to be present where consumers would be, simplify their products, curate it around what the consumer questionnaires would be, And you would see a customized approach to selling insurance as against, a textbook, brochure based approach that you come and take it. So I would say that, there is a lot of effort which is being put. Insurance companies like ourselves, we spend close to 2% of our total revenues on technology today. And a large part goes in ensuring that the customer is not put to any extra undue effort or pain in buying an insurance process.
What then is the fate of the agents, which the insurance industry has uh, for so long been dependent on the agent model, and that's also something that customers are comfortable with. That if they have a face, they have somebody they know, they have a relationship, blah blah blah. Is that model somewhat going to get dismantled?
See, let me confess that an agent which remains completely digital may perhaps become a boutique brand. He may get down to complex products because that is where the expertise would lie. But somebody who needs to just serve its customers, I think the agents are also going the digital way. And this is where, the world is trying to say that when it comes to routine matters, running around matters, basic digital, discussions, you know, you can take a digital approach as a priority over the physical approach. So a lot of agents today are also following digital paths. We have seen the highest adoption of our, chatbots, our, selfie, which is our app, websites. These are all also being used by our intermediaries. Our intermediaries themselves have got their own apps, and we integrate them so that we don't have to really duplicate things. So my suggestion is that a lot of agents who really want to stick with the paper-based thing, it is time to give a deeper thought. You can either become a product expert, and then obviously it may make sense for you even economically to meet a customer, spend money on the back and forth which a customer engagement process would have. Or at the other end, you can adopt digital architecture, maybe more customized to your localized habitat, and integrate with the good insurance companies and ensure that the flow of information is on a digital ecosystem.
Okay, okay. How do you think customer acquisition will move forward in the digital era?
People look at insurers with lot of that you guys are not transparent. You have a lot of things
It's
which
true.
people don't understand. But I must say that customers indeed have behaviors which can be bucketed. It is quite obvious that the need of insurance is reasonably similar, but it varies in a context. If we are able to profile these contexts, then it is also helpful to an insurance company to organize itself in proposing or soliciting from a customer. So with advanced AI, with machine learnings now, we are able to anticipate a lot of customer needs and fill it into the an efficient machine learning system. And when customers comes with queries and the response is quicker, appropriate, I guess the customer is more impressed with that insurance company. So in some sense, it is like a chicken and egg, which is both trying to evolve. And I think over a period of time, we want to have a contextually curated solution for a customer. We just don't want to give him a standard, product and say, please take it. This is the best I can have. I would rather sit down and curate a product with the customer. And this is where technology plays that role. And this is where Brobot comes and says, look, while I'm giving you a technology platform, but I have the ability to curate it for you. It is not a standard thing. Hence, this is where my heart comes in. And I want you to buy the right thing. You would be surprised, Sonali, that a lot of people who thought they have health insurance, frankly, didn't realize that, let's take a case of, family getting COVID. And we have seen People generally would have a family floater policy of health insurance, where there would be a floating single sum insured for a family, maybe 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs for a family of say four. But this was this family floater policies generally would stay good for a customer, anticipating maybe one of them would fall sick and you may require this 10 lakh. Nobody anticipated if a COVID came to a home, maybe it can impact all four of them, in which case the sum insured gets divided by four.
Yeah.
So a Brobot type of, approach will help us to explain so many things to a consumer and let him decide what is his peace of mind. What does he want to really go for, as against generally selling a standard solution and people feeling nice till such time the myth is broken. And then many of the times they blame the insurer for not necessarily presenting the right picture for them. And for an insurer, if I have to cater to 10,000 people at the same time, I better have an approach in place. It is no longer feasible in a country of 1.3 billion people to just think that I'm going to serve only 1% of the masses. So I may have an office next door and reach out to people, or they reach out to me and I'll explain. I think that paradigm is significantly shifting.
Um, you have launched this campaign and it's been rolled out. What has been the kind of response you've seen to that campaign? And what is your expectation in terms of the traction it needs to give business?
See, I think we are just less than 2 weeks into the launch of Brobot, and it's something, I would say it's you should not just look at like a bot. You should look at like our philosophy, a face of Reliance General Insurance. Brobot is
Like your mascot.
which mascot which identifies us. It lays down a certain approach to handling things, and I think that is what differentiates us or our Brobot in that way with any other platform. What we want people to realize is that we have solution which they need and can be curated for. And I think the response has been tremendous. People have obviously got excited. They are curious. They want to understand, like yourself, what is so different? What is that new thing you are doing? And I must tell you that, we are taking a lot of efforts in doing new things which we want to be, which we want to explain to people. Like, just about a month back, we launched an insurance gift card. Most of us have been used to buying insurance policies. For the first time in our industry, we came there and say, why don't you gift insurance to your near and dear ones if you really care for them? If you care for them, you might be giving them some gifts. Even in Diwali season, Dashera season, people exchange gifts. And today's environment, you maybe not be able to meet it physically too, but you can still gift people. So, insurance gift card is the first
That's
time we have come
interesting.
out. And we would like our mascot to take this forward and say, if you care for somebody, why don't you reflect your care through the insurance gift card? It's a good thing to do. A newly married, why don't you gift an insurance card? I'm sure they will need the cover. Even young people can get COVID too. So it's no longer a 40 plus or a 50 plus, environment. So I think, there is a tremendous energy. There is a tremendous thought which is going behind Brobot. We want people to use this as an interactive thing. We want people to lay down their expectations. We want to break the myth that insurance companies are just standard environment. They're not transparent. They have laid down paperwork. And many of the times you may not get your claim. We want to
Exactly.
break all that.
Why do you name the mascot Brobot?
Let me again confess that it's something we debated. We obviously wanted to signify technology, and we wanted to signify, an emotional feel and a brotherly feel. So we ended up, my team and we all ended up, choosing Brobot. And I think it's a good fun name which embodies what we really wanted to convey.
And going forward, will the endeavor to ensure that this robot gets more prominence and people are aware of it and understand the nuances of it? Will that be your endeavor? Across, as we go forward and end this year?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. we wanted to really change ourselves by the means of Brobot. Hence, it will be available everywhere. It will be available across the social media, across the print media. It will be something which will adapt to every environment. Robot is our way of life, and we don't want this to be like a segmented approach. Otherwise, this doesn't make sense. At the end of the day, the product of an insurance company needs to be communicated and understood by the other party. And Brobot is our mechanism to do that. So there is no two ways about it. There is no alternate to this. And this is what is the difference with which we are coming. It's our brand. And we don't want to say that this is, a part of it.
Well, on that note, thank you so much, Rakesh, for spending time with us and enlightening us about the insurance industry and breaking several myths. All the very best for Brobot. Hope Brobot grows and becomes the mascot you really envisage it to be. And here's more power to you, and stay healthy and stay safe.